I got to editing purposes. It's easier to start the video then start the audio.
Oh,
for editing purposes.
I got
It's easier that way. Because when we're talking, it doesn't match up with what we're saying. You have to line them up. I have to line them up in order to be able to do that. So for editing purposes, it's easier to do it that way.
Hey, more power to you. I don't know how to do any of that stuff.
You're young. You should know all this crap. You're a millennial. Are you a millennial? Or are you the one below that?
Am I a Z? No, what one's Z? I have no idea. I was born in the 90s. like whatever that might be. Man,
I'm not sure.
You were born
80s. I was an 80s baby.
88?
Yep.
God, you're old.
I know.
You're extremely old.
To a 5-year-old, I'm pretty old. It's all relative. Because to a 5-year-old, I am old. But to a 70-year-old, they're going to be like, you're a punk kid yet.
That's fair.
So it's all relative.
No, but who was I talking to? I can't remember. It'll come back to me later, but it's just one of those things where you witness... or
pull that fucker a little closer.
You don't necessarily witness a child being born per se, unless it's yours, obviously, but... You know when a child is born, and now that child is like driving and stuff, and you're like, man, I am old.
Mm-hmm.
And because there's like a 6-year age gap between my girlfriend and I, so she always likes to comment on how old I am.
Well, see, that's relative, because 6 years when you're still in your 20s, that's quite a bit of difference.
It is. Don't get me wrong.
You know, when you get into your 40s, it ain't that big of a difference. You know what I mean? If you got somebody who's 41 that's dating a 46 or a 47-year-old, it's like, nah, whatever. But in your instance, that a boy.
You know,
because she's younger than you. So
right, like she'll be hotter longer. You know,
and you're gonna get uglier and wrinklier quicker.
Yeah, but I'm gonna die first.
That's true. That's a good point.
No, that's why I hate being the youngest of 6. It's like, man, I'm going to witness a lot of people go before me, and I'm not looking forward to it.
That is scary when you think about it that way. I don't try to think about it that way.
I don't try to think about it either, but like,
it's fact. I mean, theoretically, you're going to outlive them. Theoretically.
Yeah, theoretically, like there's accidents that happen every day. Like it's life, but it's just one of those things that it doesn't necessarily worry you in the moment. But it's one thing that sits in the back of your mind. It's like, man, that is a very real possibility of what's
my theory
happen.
is just to die young, and then I ain't got to worry about any of it.
Die young, leave a pretty corpse, you know? Like, you know, if I die tomorrow, man, I'm going to be the hottest guy at the funeral, I'll tell you that.
Besides your girlfriend, of course.
Besides, yes, absolutely.
Obviously. You know, you got to make sure she's involved in that. Well, no, man, it's thanks for coming back. It's been well over a year since you've been here.
Let's see, a year and what, 4 months, 3 months?
Something like that.
Yeah.
You were episode 31, and now you're going to be episode 81 or 2. I don't remember which one.
Don't forget, this is my 3rd time here.
Yeah, I don't remember. Sure. Some people keep track. I don't keep track. It doesn't matter to me, but...
No, there's been a lot of good content, like from here to there.
A lot of conversation. A lot of conversations have gone on in this room, and
you've had all sorts. You've had like the, what's his name, Tyler. You've like the lawyer. You've had.
This is Galen calling me. Should I answer it?
Go for it.
Hey, we're in the middle of a podcast. You want to be on it right now because you're on speakerphone.
What up?
We're just sitting here shooting the shit, and then you called, and I'm like, well, I better answer it and see what you're up to. What are you up to?
Nothing. I'll let you go. Shoot me a call back when you get done.
All right, tenfo. All right, bet. Never done that before.
I really figured he would have something to say.
I figured he'd be like, yeah, how about those Packers or something? I don't know, but no, yeah, it's been good. I'm really grateful for the people that have come here and sat down and talked about their nonprofits and their businesses and the communities and everything like that. I'm super happy that I've had the opportunity to be able to do that. You know,
yeah, quite a bit of, like, in my opinion, I'll call it success.
It's always for me. It's always success.
You've definitely broadened your everything with all the people that have came in here. You've learned a lot. You've talked about a lot.
Well, you were one of the people that I talked about when I first started this.
Right.
And I was like, hey, I'm thinking about starting a podcast and bringing on guests and stuff. Would you be interested? And you were like, hell yeah, let's do it. You know, it's funny just how it's kind of spread from there and on how I've brought in different, a variety of things to talk about.
Right. Different walks of life.
Yeah, exactly. And that makes me more excited than probably a lot of people and a lot of listeners. But man, whenever I can have people in here and sit down, I learn something. I try to listen well and understand. And for me, that's huge. If you can learn something every day. And
Not
when
a
I'm
day
here,
is wasted when something's learned.
yeah. And I'm not big on reading.
I'd rather hear it hands on. Like see it hands on, do all that. Like, exactly.
It's not that I don't mind reading. It's just not my favorite thing to do.
Reading sucks, okay? Like, I know for a fact you're one of the people who looks at the instructions of something like, I can figure this out. Like,
The funny thing is, I'm actually not that way. I usually read the instructions and be like, oh, okay, this is how it's supposed to go. I had a friend of mine that the other day, well, not the other day, whatever, a couple weeks ago, they just bought a fridge. They plugged it in, you know, and like, why isn't this thing working? I'm like, did you read the instructions? They said, no. I'm like, find the instruction, pull it. I'm like, well, you got to push this button and this button. There, now it's working.
Wow.
And they're like, whoa. I'm like, you got to read the instructions, bro.
no, I'm like the put it together 4 times until I get it right, you know, that type of guy. Like,
This screw's longer than this one.
so this one
I am
must
missing
go.
something somewhere.
No, there's always that thing like you see on Facebook. It's like, yeah, I just put this engine back together, but I have 3 bolts left over. That means I'm better at manufacturing this engine than the business who made it is.
Then you got to wonder, oh boy, where did these things go?
It's like, was that noise there before? Like,
God, I hope that's not a crank bolt that's supposed to be in there.
if it lets loose, it let loose. You know how to take it apart.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's one thing I don't think I'd want to take apart more than once is an engine or transmission or anything like that. It's like one time, let's do it right.
That's
that would
fair.
suck to have to get it in there and you fire it up and you're like, oh, that was a rod bolt. Oh, okay.
Oh man, now I get to do it all over again. This is gonna be great.
So the last time you were here, your life's changed quite a bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Since the last time you were here. You were working for the local deer dealer, and now you are at
Illinois Foundation Seeds.
IFSI.
IFSI.
Well, congratulations on that, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's something different.
Compared to what I'm used to? Oh, absolutely.
So what's your, I know you probably can't talk a whole lot about it, but we'll talk a little bit if we can. What is your,
My title?
there you go.
Technically speaking, I believe, like to this day, it almost changes day to day on what I do. But what I was hired for was, how do I put this? Like the exact terminology they use. I am a facilities and maintenance technician.
Okay.
So I fix things. And as my boss says, like, I'm in charge of the shop. I have 2 guys underneath me. They're H2As. They're brothers. One's Gonzalo, one's Santiago. They're from Toluca, Mexico. They actually go back, I believe, December 21st or 20th or 21st of this year. Then they go back for 2 months and they come back for another 10. One of them is
Because they're one of the few there at IFSI that are 10 months on, 2 months off.
Correct. But Gonzalo, he's the older brother. He is actually a GM technician down in Mexico. And like through what I understand with my broken Spanish and translate, he just wanted something new. So I guess he enjoys working on farm equipment. Apparently he hasn't done it long enough because I think everybody I know that works on farm equipment hates it.
It can be a challenge. It can be a challenge.
Yeah, I think it was my second official day. It was a Tuesday, and Jake brings me out to the field. And yeah, there's something wrong with the combine. Well,
And that's the 9670 that they're running?
yeah, that was Dick Stockson's old machine,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yep.
And it was plugged. It was real plugged.
Boy.
And
Because it was in soybeans when you got hired on, right? They started
It was
soybeans?
just down the road. It was about a mile and a half from here. And, well, you know where not Maxim, but the Graff Road Bridge is out?
Mm-hmm.
Like right there.
Yeah, they got a lot of acres right there.
Just walking distance east of there.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to the point where at first I was like, maybe it picked up a rock. Maybe a rock went like past the rock trap and it's lodged up in there. No, it didn't act like it really. I mean, at first it did, but then you start thinking, and first person I called was Josh Widener. I was like what do you think? And he's like, well, you raise a chopper up, like disengage that, and you untension the feed accelerator,
And look in the back.
and you just if you turn on the separator and whatnot, and if it goes through, like if not goes through, but if it spins freely and everything, like it's something in the rotor. I'm like, well, that's awesome. So that's where I learned that these guys are willing to do anything to get the job done. Like these guys are phenomenal. Like absolutely, I couldn't I don't want to say I couldn't ask for better, but for who they are and what they know, they're extremely innovative. They're awesome, to be honest. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And like we had the 7810 decided it was going to
The tractor you're talking.
basically blow up the AC compressor.
Nice.
But at first they sent Jake pictures, and then pictures got back to me, and it was like, oh, you just broke the belt? Yeah, you just broke the belt. And then I go out into the field and go see it. I think I sent you the picture. It's like the dang the pulley on the AC compressor looked like a Coors can, like when it turns blue.
Yeah, that means something's wrong. That clutch probably is not doing well right now.
It means something got hot.
Hence why the belt broke.
But no, just because of what I did, and obviously what you did for a long time, it's just, all right, well, let's see if we can find a part number. It already had a reman compressor on it. So looked like, gave Brett the number, had a new one. It's all fine and dandy now, but the impressive thing that really blew my mind about these guys was, how do I put this?
Any way you want, really.
But, okay, so we wanted to get it back to the farm. So I called up Dan at Deere, and he was like, it looks like it's a mechanically driven water pump and whatnot. And I was like, so.
Oh, that's right, because that's one belt along that whole front thing.
Right, that's
front.
that's the fan drive, that's the alternator, that's everything. And I was like, well, I was talking to Jake and my boss. I was like, okay, so I believe without a belt, we can get it back. Like, I had it all planned out in my head. I was like, if it starts overheating, you're going to pull off by your dad's house and then let it cool down and then get up to Dean's. And then from there, let it cool off and you can get back to the farm. But they go out there with a random belt they found on the shelf. They cut it, and we have these gator clips for doing.
Yeah, like a round baler belt.
Kind of, sort of, but they're for conveyor belts for our hand pick line.
Yep.
And they go out there, they make a belt in the field. Did not break on the way back. Everything was good, and they made it back fully operational. I'm like, you guys are impressive. I told everybody there, like, these guys are impressive. Because you
got to work with what you got.
That's what they're used to, though. Like, these guys are showing me techniques where, like, you and I might think it's primitive. But down there, like, that's normal. And it's just like, why didn't I think of that? Because it's just like.
You're going through 14 steps in your mind, and you're overthinking things when they're like, huh, it's easy.
Yeah, we're used to re-engineering the wheel. They're just like, it works. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it.
No, it is crazy how intelligent they are. Like, I don't want to like demeaning or anything like that, but they're extremely intelligent in ways where the average person, the average American, just doesn't think what they think. It's like some things like they're extremely comical. Some things they do is just like why are you doing that?
Well, I think every job's got that, right? You're in a situation or you're doing something and you look over and you go, "Hey, what are you doing?" No, let's not do that.
No,
I want you to keep your fingers intact, please. Thank you very much.
No, they were good. Like we were cutting apart this racking the other day, and they wanted to use not a wire wheel, like a cutting disc and a oxyacetylene torch. It's like, well, you're gonna have bird shit. Like it's not gonna be straight. It's like, well, I was like, over there, like plasma cutter. Like we have a plasma cutter.
Oh, I'd love to have one of those.
like, come on, guys. Like, please.
Yeah, plasma cutters are real nice. You can just, and it's nice and square. It's straight. There's no bird crap on it at all. It's just a nice straight cut.
No, they're super comical. They're a delight to work with.
Good.
In all honesty, like my boss says, like I'm in charge of them. I don't consider myself in charge of them. I tell them what their next job is. I leave them alone. And I know it's going to get done because I trust these guys. They're super cool.
Yeah, they're part of the team.
Exactly.
Just like
that's how I consider it. Like,
and when shit flows downhill, then it's on you, right?
Like my boss says, like, oh, you're technically the supervisor. I'm like, I don't need that title. Like I'm an employee. I'm genuinely an employee working for the same goal as everybody else is.
Yep. That's how I look at a lot of things too. It's fine to have a title. Just when something bad happens, then you got to answer for it. Then you're not going to hang those guys out. You're not going to hang those guys out to dry. And that's the way I look at things. Like where I'm at too. It's like we're all part of the same team. We all have the same goal. Yeah, there's technically a boss above me, and he's got to answer the questions that he's done or hasn't done. But at the end of the day, we're all trying to get the same stuff accomplished. So let's try and get that accomplished.
Right, absolutely. And like there's been I had a bad taste in my mouth about certain things, like just living in Harvard for as long as I have, and I've eaten a bit of crow since I've gotten there.
Good.
And it was for the best. Honest to God, it was for the best. And everybody there, except most of the office people, like where my desk is and whatnot, like there it kind of seems like everything's very tense.
So you just go out to the shop then. Like, I gotta go help these guys out here. They need a fifth and sixth hand.
I'm sorry, I got a shit.
That works too.
But no, it is compared to what you and I used to do. I'll say that because you were at Deere for what, 15 years, 13 years?
About 13 years.
Yeah, and
right at 13 years.
Yeah, you were there for 13. I was there for 5, and obviously we went over how that came to be. Mm-hmm. But no, it was definitely.
Well, the good thing about it too is coming from the ag background, like you, like myself, you're gonna have to learn new things in this new role. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, absolutely.
But you have the background. You know what it takes in spring and in fall. You know what it takes to keep this equipment together. You know what parts and stuff that you probably should have on hand because you know probably what's going to break down and what isn't.
Right, and there comes a point where I'm a little too precise. That's almost a downfall of what I did, because.
What do you mean? What do you mean too precise on what?
Too precise on like, okay, I see something's getting worn. Like to me, oh, it's worn. We have to replace that. To others, it's like, oh, we can put that on next year type of thing. Like it's not necessarily a priority right now. It's like, well, in my eyes, it always is. Like wear parts are a priority to me, like within reason. And it's like, okay, I see this. Like I was hired to do this, and I do it. I don't want to say too well, but too well. I see this is wrong. I would like to replace this.
Yeah, see, you and me are in the same boat that way because. Like right now, we're starting to go over trucks and stuff to get them ready for wintertime.
Right.
And I'm looking at things going, that's not good.
That's broken.
But it's not broken. It's just not good. So what do, right? It's
exactly.
Like you try to make sure you have some of that stuff on hand so when that does break, it's a quick fix. Or you have the stuff here, so when you get done with that snow, you can bring it back. You can get it taken care of right away instead of waiting 3 or 4 or 5 days for parts or whatever the case may be. I'm in the same boat you are, so I get that.
Right.
I get
It's
it a lot.
like our 512 Ripper. It looks very nice, but things are. It's obviously, you know what a 512 is. I'm pretty sure you guys have one, or your dad.
We had
has.
one.
But regardless, it looked phenomenal, and then you got closer, and it's like, man, just nothing lasts forever. Like we were looking at I was looking at the Ripper points. It's like, all right, you're starting to wear into the shank. Like I think you.
You gotta.
I think you got your life out of those ones. You know,
you got to replace that.
and it wasn't an easy thing for me to just say, hey, these are $180 a piece,
And we need 7 or 9
and
of them,
we
or
need
whatever.
7 of them.
Yeah.
It's like
Don't forget to change the shank guards too when you do that.
we went over those. We have some shank guards on hand.
Just making sure you know.
No, like we
It's that, and then when you got to do the disc gangs,
yeah, like I
because those can get expensive. Because if you're there, it's like okay.
$132 for a 24-inch disc, in case you were wondering.
So, but that's what I'm getting at. It's like, okay, so you're going to tear this all apart. You're going to put the used bearings back in? No, you're going to put new bearings back in because you don't want to have problems with it down the road, right? So you're going to replace however many of these discs. You're going to put all new bearings in it, et cetera, et cetera. And all of a sudden you're like, geez, man, I got $4,000 or $5,000 wrapped up in this thing just to make it so it does its job the right way.
$4,000 or $5,000, you ain't doing the whole implement either.
No, you're doing just the fronts and probably just the fronts.
Like I won't give precise numbers, but it was over a large one for a singular gang this year, basically. And it's just, it was like, are you sure? Are you sure it's this is agriculture? Like when obviously the profession that I used to have and you used to have, $1,000
Doesn't get you far.
You can blow your nose with it, to be honest. It doesn't get you anywhere in agriculture, and that's the unfortunate thing about it.
But to replace it too, it costs a hell of a lot more.
Exactly. Okay, so you put $5,000 into this Ripper. Would you rather put $5,000 in parts and keep the one that you already have, or would you rather spend $40,000 and go get somebody else's used piece of equipment where you might have to throw that like the same amount of money into it?
Right. Because where it becomes, what you really got to think about is when it becomes close to apples and apples, right? You're going to spend $10,000 on a piece of equipment, but you can replace it for 12 or 15. Right. I'm just using vague numbers here. So if you're going to spend $10,000 on this piece of equipment and you can replace it for 12, you can upgrade it, get a newer one with less acres through it and all that kind of stuff. That's when you got to go, gee, I think I know what I'm going to do.
Unless
I'm going to sell mine for $7,500 and then take half of what I was going to put into it and buy this one, and hopefully we'll be good to go for a year or two.
Unless you were extremely, because I by no means is privilege any part of what I'm about to say. It's absolutely nothing to do with it. If you are smart with your money, like a certain person that is, how do I put this, between Harvard and Lamb Road. Like I believe you will know who I'm talking about on Charles Road. But like you bite the bullet, like from what I know, you bite the bullet immediately in the very beginning, and you can upgrade for, I don't want to say pennies on the dollar, but $15,000, $20,000 a year. You just continue to upgrade it. Unless you're in that position, you're much better off just fixing what you have until you can move further with that process.
I would agree, but I would disagree, right? Because let's just say you own a pickup truck. You do. Let's just say you own a pickup truck. It's worth $10,000. Kelly Blue Book comes out and says, this truck's worth between $9,000 and $11,000, right? It's worth $10,000.
Right. Find the median there, yeah.
Now all of a sudden, your engine goes to shit. Now you got to put an engine in it. It's got 135,000 miles on it. So now an engine's going to cost you $7,500, right?
Right, yeah, parts, labor, all
Parts,
that good
labor
stuff.
to have somebody do it. So now you got to look at it and go, do I put the $7,500 into a $10,000 truck?
Or do I take that $7,500 and put it towards a newer
truck? Or do I find one that's 5-6 years newer with maybe only 100,000 miles on it and I can buy that for $15,000. And you can still get something out of it. Your truck's still worth something, right?
Right,
It's still worth $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000.
Whether it's positive or negative, your equity is still there within your piece of equipment.
So that's where I would look at it and go, man, I'm going to put $7,500 into this truck, and if it gets totaled the day that I pull it away from the mechanic shop,
they're giving me
$10,000 for it.
Exactly.
So now I've only got $2,500 into my pocket with this. Why not take that $2,500, save the $7,500, take the $10,000 and put it towards something else? If you're in the position to do that,
Right. Given you're in the position like that's a big thing, because some people,
they're paycheck to paycheck.
Like their $10,000 truck, that is it. Like, that is what they have.
I totally get it.
Like, I don't want to say it's by.
I'm looking at it as a business perspective, right?
100%.
In your business, if you look at it this way, you don't throw good money at a bad product.
Bingo. Like, just don't go, oh, I'm going to take the finger. Take the finger. If you know it's going to become a problem, take the hand. That's just how it is.
Yeah, and then we'll figure out what to do after that. I mean, banks give out loans every day. Car dealerships give out loans every day. Dealerships give out loans every day. Ag dealers give out loans. So
yeah, that ended well.
But you know what I'm getting at. At the end of the day, it's like, man, sometimes instead of just nickel and diming me to death, let's just take care of this now, so I have something that's reliable, that'll get me through the winter, that'll get me through next year, that'll get me through the fall or the spring, so we don't have to keep worrying about this problem.
Right, don't get me wrong. I have pissed away stupid money on stupid things.
We all have.
Just like, I know I should, like, at the time I was like, oh no, I got like, at some point everybody has sentimental value with something. And at one point or another, hey, it's hemorrhaging myself. There's no point in me having this anymore. I've done what I can do. If I do any more than what I'm doing right this very second, it will only hurt me. It's just gotten to that point with certain things. Like my very first pickup, loved the thing to death. My first car, everything, like, oh, this, like, it's a pile, but it is my first vehicle. Everybody's got that, like, right in the chest, Oh
yeah, like I'd love to find a year of my first truck if I could find one for cheap somewhere and buy one. Just to have it. But then you look at it and go, God, I know what to put tires on it, brakes on it, and they don't make parts for these trucks so much anymore. And then what the hell do I do? And then I'm just going to be putting money into the thing. And
most of life's lessons are best found out the hard way.
I agree with that. 100%.
And then after a while, the hard lessons become fewer and far between because you learn over time.
Yeah, you don't make as many mistakes. You tend to think things through a little bit more.
Right. There are times where
everybody makes mistakes,
where feelings get ahead of logic, if that makes sense.
100%.
It's like, do I really need this? No, but like, okay, so you and I both understand firearms. Like, okay, so say, all right, well, this thing right here, this is like bucket list. I want this. You kind of throw logic out the window. It's like, I'm going to have this.
See, the difference is I make logic work with that feeling. Like, I need
man,
this firearm.
This
is the reason why I need it.
I think everybody does that too.
I'm like, see, I need it just in case if we have a zombie apocalypse or if we have a civil war. This is why I need it. Meanwhile, it's going to sit in a safe for however long. I'm like, man, I haven't shot that thing for a while. I'm going to go out and shoot it once.
Do I still own that?
Just to make sure the rounds still go through.
No, absolutely. Like, there's like my lever action. I have a 45-70. Like, it was one of those guns where it's like, I need this for nothing. But
I have a couple of those. I have a couple firearms like that.
I want this.
Mine was more like, oh, that's a really good deal. Like, I can't pass that up. Like, I can't. Like, logic's telling me don't do it. But my brain's going, dude,
here's my wallet.
That's a good deal. That's a really good deal. I need to pull the trigger on it. Hypothetically speaking. Did you hear that Illinois, that judge?
Be careful what you say, because it got appealed within 24 hours.
It did. Of course it was going to get appealed. But that judge did say that
It was unconstitutional.
that ban is that firearms ban is unconstitutional.
I mean, I lost mine in a boating accident, so
Yeah, so I never even had them really.
No, I had one. I was
Lake Michigan can be rough.
Yeah, I was
especially in the wintertime.
You should have seen the swells on the Mississippi when this happened. It was gnarly.
Yeah, they can get bad out there too.
Yeah, it was crazy.
You want to go scuba diving out there? Maybe we can find some good stuff.
No, do that. What's that big thing that's going on? Magnet fishing.
Oh, I've never done that.
But have you seen the videos by chance?
I've seen some of them. Yeah,
they're in random creeks in the U.S. and it's like, well, we just found a hand grenade, and it's like what? Like, where are people getting this stuff? I'm asking for a friend, but like, where do people get the hand grenades?
it makes you really wonder.
Like,
did it flow down from upstream and just get embedded in a spot and say, yep, this is where I'm going to sit until a magnet hits me?
When was the last time a hand grenade had enough buoyancy to go down a river?
Yeah, but if you get those big rains and stuff, there's a lot of...
Or those big swells I was talking about. Yeah,
it can happen. I can see it happening.
No, like most of the ones they find, it's like, they were like associated with a crime because the serial numbers are gone. It's like, okay, all right, I know where that came from. But no, it's like, why can't I ever have that much luck? Like everybody's like, oh, I found a firearm, I got to call the police. What? No.
Why?
Wait. Oh no. Did I say firearm? I meant firecracker. Yeah, it's all wet. And it's like,
yeah, the wick ain't gonna light anymore, and the gunpowder's all wet. It ain't gonna do nothing.
Yeah, but it's really cool to look at. I'm just gonna take this home with me.
I'm gonna put it on my rack, and when I get home.
No, it's I don't know.
That magnet fishing though, there's some really interesting thought process that goes into that, because I looked into it just a little bit one day just because I was curious. There's different kinds of magnets, first of all. Right. You got like the bottom surface and the top surface. And then there's also magnets that have the sides as well that all suck in. And then there's different powers of magnets that you can use.
Right.
It's like, how the hell do you know which one to use?
Like my question is, like, I understand, I've seen some of this happen online. Like, say you have a magnet with 1,000 pounds of force. Okay, so say you attach to an I-beam that somebody threw off the river, like threw off the
car,
or a car. It's like, I really got a big one here, and like, how do you get that off? I don't quite understand it when it has that much force.
Maybe hook it to the truck and pull it. I don't know.
Like some of that stuff,
because some of them are like, I was watching a guy on whatever, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it was, and he's like, yeah, well, this one, this is my starter one. It's only a 40-pound magnet, but I'm looking to buy a different one that's an 80-pound magnet, and then it's magnetized on all sides. So no matter where I throw it, whatever's metal is going to attach to it.
Right.
And I'm like, well, why didn't you just do that to begin with? I'm an idiot when it comes to this. I don't know anything about it, but I was thinking, why didn't you just buy that to begin with? But maybe that magnet's $300 compared to where the one he was using was only 110 or 100. You know?
And like the way I look at it, which kind of goes with that thought process, it's like you are doing that for the sheer pleasure of what you find. You, like, 9 times out of 10, unless you hook onto a treasure chest, you ain't making anything. Like, all right, I'm gonna go spend. Like, don't get me wrong, we all have hobbies that cost us a lot of money, aka firearms, but they bring me joy. They can help me in certain situations. But those guys, yeah, I'm gonna throw this magnet out there, and fingers crossed I find a used bicycle from the 1940s. I don't, to each their own.
To each their own, absolutely. It does nothing for me as an individual to go magnet fishing. But I can see for people that want to know what's out there, what's under there, and you can't see it.
Hey, if it wasn't for curiosity, we'd be nowhere.
That's 100% right. 100% right. So for those people, great, man. I'm glad you're enjoying yourself, because you're actually helping the environment, because you're getting the crap out of the rivers and the creeks. You're actually helping the environment out. So by all means, man, fish on. Fish on. I'd just rather really fish, real fish.
Right. Like, come on.
You went back to Canada this year, didn't you?
I did, yeah. We went up to the same resort, same, like, we were fortunate enough we had the same lodges for the most part. We actually had more people go this year. That was kind of cool. Everybody except for one was local. One of them was actually, well, you know Miller Auto, right?
Yeah.
What's Steve? He's married to Marsha, correct?
Steve is he works for a school district.
School District 200 over in Woodstock.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
His brother lives in Minnesota, and he actually was on the trip with us.
Oh, no kidding.
And he met us, like, he came up, like, the following day or same day or whatever. Yeah, like, and he was saying, yeah, I'm from that area. I just live in Minnesota. And,
oh, cool.
And I was like, what's your last name? And he said Miller. And I'm like, so are you in any relation to, like, so-and-so? And he was like, yeah, that's my brother and that's my dad. And I'm like, huh, okay. Like,
what a small world.
I had that exact conversation with some, for better terms.
Ah, crap. We got to pause. This podcast episode is sponsored by Dan's Diesel Performance. If you're looking to improve your truck's performance, efficiency, or appearance, check out Dan's Diesel Performance. They manufacture turbochargers, fuel injectors, fuel pumps, transmissions, intake piping, and much, much more. Plus, they offer all the top brands in the diesel industry. They're located in Machesney Park, Illinois. Visit their website at dansdieselperformance.com or give them a call at 815-977-5865. All right, we took a break.
Yeah, hopefully this time
I think this is now working. I don't know why it froze. I don't know when it froze.
Is it moving?
Yeah, it's moving. I don't normally look at this thing when we're in this.
Right, you get a little zoned in.
I just get talking to you, and I get to space in, and I get to thinking about stuff, so I don't always concentrate on this. So, my bad. I mean, when you're hosting and you're doing this stuff, that's probably a main thing you probably should do.
Maybe.
So there could be part of this video where you're just going,
little spirit fingers, but paused. No, what were we talking about? We were talking about the Canada trip.
yeah, about how you met one of the Millers.
Yeah, how I met one of the Millers up there. But anyways, regardless, it wasn't nearly as good this year as it was last year. Just the fish were obviously different spots, different sizes, different, whatever. They're never.
Was the fishing still good though?
Compared to down here, yes. It's
night and
always
day down here.
It's always good up there.
Once you get up there, fishing down here is like, oh, we really are at the bottom of the barrel. We're up there, you're like, ooh, fish. Ooh, fish.
It's like, oh, different fish. Like,
what were you guys mainly fishing for? Like walleye and northern, or?
Mainly walleye, but like, well, we would do some casting for northerns. Like, everybody got some northerns, all that good stuff. We actually hit a really nice, I mean, I can send you a picture, actually, if you wanted to put it in here, of it. I don't even know what the actual correct term would be, but it's kind of like a marshy area that goes into like a waterfall. It's a aggressive rapid. I'll give it that. And yeah, we were like they went up there to swim and stuff, and we just started throwing lures out there, and it turned out to be like the hottest smallmouth spot you'd ever seen.
Really?
Like it was probably 4 or 5 pulls in the water. Almost every cast was like
my favorite,
like smallmouth, like
ooh, 3-pounders then, huh?
Oh, it was amazing as far as that goes. That made my whole trip. Like you get so tired of catching the walleye and the northern. It's like
I'll never get tired of catching northern.
See,
they put up a big fight, whether they're 18 inches long or 40 inches long. They just put up a fight, and you're like, yeah, give me that fight, you know?
It got to the point where we're like, is he shaking his head?
Yep.
All right, well, just if we lose him, we lose him. It's like you know it's a good walleye when you're just like pulling up. Like, what does it feel like? Well, it kind of feels like I drug a stick from the bottom. Well, there you go. But no, it's a good time. I don't know. I might take a break this year. I haven't necessarily decided yet because
Well, you got time. We're just coming into now winter.
Yeah,
So
it's like-
you got plenty of time.
It's
Before
like-
you know it, you might hit like April when you're out in the fields and you're putting them long hours in and you're like, man, I'd love to catch me some fish right now.
what I really want to plan coming up, like a bucket list fish for me is, it might not be a bucket list fish for somebody else. I would like to go down to Florida. I would like to try to get my hands on a large, not mediocre, a large peacock bass. Like, that is one of the fish that I want. Like, if I catch a sizable one, it is going on the wall no matter what.
Yeah, I get that. I've been lucky enough to catch a 36-pound kingfish in my life.
Really?
Out of the ocean. And once I've caught that, I want bigger. So
I'm going to go like 1,200-pound marlin?
I would love to. I would love, or a Goliath grouper,
See,
or
like
a sturgeon up in Idaho. That would be fun.
Like, give me like an 8-foot sturgeon.
Yeah,
like,
something like that. That's now my new bucket list. Like I've caught big northern. I've caught big bass. I've caught big perch. I've caught big sunfish around here. Now give me some big fish. I want to go catch something
Right.
that's bigger than me.
I've caught like the
Crappies
I never weighed it. Obviously, it's just because you never expect it. Now, I'm not that trophy fisherman. Like, it's just I want to go out there. Whatever happens, happens. If I get a massive one, I got a massive one.
Hell right.
Like, I don't want to say dinner plate, but I've caught sunfish that are whatever. Extremely large for what
bigger
they're-
than your hand by far, and
Exactly.
And you're
I've-
like, God, that's a nice one.
Like, my PB for a largemouth is like 5 pounds, but that's also a bass that nobody ever sees.
A 5-pound largemouth is a big bass.
Like,
That's a big bass.
Like, don't get me wrong. There's people like, oh, well, that's nothing. I caught a 7-pounder or a 9-pounder. Well,
Good for you, some bitch.
Yeah, good for you. But no, I genuinely like you said, Goliath. That'd be super cool.
That
but
would be fun.
like after 3 hours though, you're just
Yes.
like, oh my god, I'm done.
Check my stamina. I'm sure I'm going to fail miserably, but
Right.
damn it, I want to try. I really do. Those big fish out there like that, even like a mahi, you know, you get yourself a nice 25-pound mahi.
Like dolphin fish. Basically.
Yeah.
they're the same fish, but yeah.
Something like that would just be.
It'd be more like, honestly,
I would be just so happy to do that.
It's the experience.
I mean, my forearms are going to be burning while I'm holding that pole, you know, and I'm going to be like, this just needs to end. And when it's all said and done, I'm going to be like,
Pick a
Hell
time.
yeah.
Pick a time. We'll make a trip.
I caught it. Let's do it again. You know, give me some water or vodka or something.
Somebody pour something in my mouth. No, sturgeon would be an absolute legendary deal.
That one is on my bucket list regardless. If I ever go get any of the other ones, a sturgeon would just be awesome.
If in my life, if I caught a sturgeon that was 4 foot plus,
That's a win.
It's a win, absolutely.
Yep.
But no,
And most of them are, they only give out so many licenses a year for those.
right.
But it's one of those where I don't care if I release it, put it right back. I'm good with it. I'm totally cool with it.
Like, give me some pictures. I caught this.
Yep. Because they are just a beautiful.
It's a dinosaur.
Yeah, they're just a beautiful fish. They just really are. And they're bottom dwellers. They don't even have teeth. They're along the bottom
And
of
you're
the
telling
river.
me that you what was that guy? Jeremy Wade with River Monsters. Like,
Hi, I'm Jeremy Wade.
this is River Monsters. I got another one. Yeah,
Fish on.
Exactly. It's like, I don't have to tell anybody that I've been out here for 3 weeks.
Thank God for editing.
The irony. But no, if I can get my hands on like a 5-pound peacock bass, I mean, I'd even take smaller than that, to be honest. Don't get greedy. But
And no, you got to be greedy. If you're thinking about going for it, you got to think big.
it's just, have you seen a peacock bass?
Yeah.
They're gorgeous.
They're a cool fish.
Absolutely.
They're cool
Like,
fish.
everybody's like, some people have their niches. It's like, I want to get this 5-foot gar. Like, don't get me wrong, gars are cool, but like the vibrant colors, like, that's why I've always had a fascination with saltwater fish tanks. Like, how in the world do you guys end up with these colors?
Oh, there's Nemo.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Dory, what are you doing over there? Like, it's just like, it's super cool. Like, as far as like aquatics go,
Yeah.
it's just, how do I put it? Even
It's a whole different world when you get into saltwater.
It is,
Just
and
a whole different world.
And I watched, like, speaking of podcasts, I watched one, or maybe it was a podcast, maybe it was just like a video, but they were explaining what we have explored of the Marianas Trench.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
It's too deep. The pressure's too high. We don't have
It's-
anything man-made right
like,
now
what
that
is
can get to the bottom.
What is the deepest point? Like 7 miles or something like that?
Yep, 7 miles.
It's like, so you're, I don't quite
Yeah, they don't even know 100% what species are down there and what aren't. Yeah, they can go down so far and they can tell you what species are there and blah, 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 blah. But once you get to the bottom of that, it's so cold, so dark.
so much pressure.
So much pressure on there. They're like, what can survive? Well, something's going to survive. Guarantee it.
Exactly.
Probably aliens, but something will be down there.
And I did end up watching something as well where it was, there was an ex-military guy who at some point was in a extremely large submarine, like when I heard what he was talking about, like above average submarine, like huge, was down there and saw something on sonar that was bigger than them.
So they say.
Well, so they say. And it's like, he asked the guy, the commanding officer or whatever, like, what do? We go around it. Like, how big is something where you go around it? It's like, it's crazy to think, like, what is, like, okay, so you're telling me, I don't know how wide
I don't know how
Marianas
wide
Trench
it is, but it's like 7 miles
but
deep.
it's 7 miles deep. Okay, so say it's 7 miles deep by, whatever, 3 miles wide, even 3 miles. Can you imagine the size of certain things that can hide in 21 square mile? Like, well, not even that. It's probably, it's bigger than that. But
Yeah.
But for point of reference,
Yeah. 21 square miles.
like, do you know what can hide in that? It's
A lot can
crazy.
hide in that, especially if it's only the size of this cup.
Exactly. And I've been getting really into not like necessarily government conspiracies, but like
Oh, I like conspiracy theories. I'm a conspiracy
I
theorist.
love
by far.
conspiracy theories because like everybody thinks it's crazy until you start understanding that there are facts that are brought to the table. And it's like,
You can't argue facts. For anybody out there that
no, you can argue them, you just can't dispute them.
same thing, right? It's the same thing. You can't. Fact is fact. I mean, the sun is white, whether you want to believe that or not. It might come through our atmosphere as orange or yellow, but it is white.
Oh,
So
and speaking of stars, sorry to go off on a tangent here, but did you know that when I believe I don't quote me on this, but when by the time you see a very faint star in the sky, the light started coming this way
that many light years
when
ago.
there was dinosaurs on the earth.
Yeah. So they say that if you went out 165 million light years, which is when like on Earth,
billions of miles, yeah.
it's trillions of miles.
Trillions of
Trillions
miles.
of miles. But if you go out that far and then you look back at Earth, you're going to see dinosaurs roaming. You won't even see us being here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about.
Neil deGrasse Tyson once said, if you took Earth with the Mariana Trench, Mount Everest, and you shrinked it to a size of a cue ball,
It's like you would not notice.
it would be the
difference.
smoothest cue ball that you would ever feel in your entire life.
Is that like, this is, I'm probably not like the best for the podcast, but that is the black guy with the mustache, correct? Like
Yeah.
the extremely intelligent guy?
Yeah, the astrophysicist.
I watched the same video where the difference between the Marianas Trench and the top of Mount Everest is so minute when it comes to like
What Earth is.
like what Earth is, the geography, the geography of Earth.
Mm-hmm.
It is the smoothest sphere you'll ever feel.
Yep.
And
Which is crazy to think. Because there's like, what, a 13-mile difference
right.
between the top of Everest and the bottom of the
And
Mariana
in that
Trench?
same video, he was like, yeah, there's always these misconceptions, like on these, the school globes, where like you could feel the ripples of the mountains and stuff.
says you wouldn't.
You would not.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And Josh Gallagher and I go on back and forth about this sometimes, where space is the most... It's fascinating, yet almost terrifying.
It's not terrifying.
Because I don't believe we've ever explored further than our solar system.
We can't. We don't have technology to do that.
Right.
Voyager 1 is the only one that's out of our solar system right now, and that was put out there in the 1970s. It's the only thing that man-made has created that's out of our solar system. So it took 50 years to get something out of our solar system, outside of it. So it's past Pluto.
Come on, Musk. Come on.
And I think he will. I mean, that guy is extremely, extremely intelligent.
No, and from what I see, like, he's not like your stereotypical dude. Like, he seems like he would have no problem talking on your podcast. Like, he seems like a very cool dude. Like,
I would love to have him. I really would. I think.
Hey, Mr. Musk, Elon,
When you're in the podunk town that we're in, and you got nothing better to do, SpaceX.
If you want to bring your IQ down about 300 points,
we're here, man. We're here.
No, like that is. There's a lot of people who want to talk a lot of crap towards him. Like, he is. If you really have to hear what he has to say and his level of intelligence,
it's superior to most.
Oh, absolutely.
It's superior.
But that's how you become. I think. Didn't he claim the title of the world's first trillionaire not too long ago? But
no, I haven't heard that. But
I thought I heard that. But obviously, with SpaceX and everything, it wasn't a long-lived title. But it's just crazy where that just proves if you have a large enough thought process. I don't even want to say IQ. If you have a large enough thought process, you can become a billionaire.
Well, I seen him. I listened to him on Joe Rogan. I told you before, I was down in Springfield this past week, and on my way home, I'm like, he just came on Joe Rogan's podcast, and I'm like, it's a 3-hour podcast. So I'm like, perfect. It's 3.5 hours of Springfield.
Yeah, because it went Uncle Donnie, then JD Vance, then Elon Musk.
What else do I got better to do? So I plopped him on there, and I believe he said in that podcast, he goes, my mind doesn't shut off. It's always thinking about things, how to do things better, how to create things. He says 4 hours of sleep a night is what I average, but because my brain doesn't shut off, it just keeps going and going and going. And I think about that and go, man, that's kind of a curse too.
It's a blessing and a curse at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what he's done. All of what he's done has been a blessing, but it's also a curse that it's taken a toll on this guy. I feel bad for him to a point. Like, man, did you go do a shot of whiskey, man, or bourbon or something? Did
you know he has 11 kids?
I did not know that.
I actually just found that out via Facebook 2 days ago.
Good for him.
I think his youngest, I believe it is. What's his name? I believe it's X. His name is X.
Interesting.
I think it was last year. He bought Twitter and created X.
Yeah. Or 2 years ago, I think now.
But
yeah.
I believe from what I heard, I don't know if it's true or not, but it all started with him being censored on Twitter. So he bought it.
It wasn't just him. It wasn't just him that was being censored. It all started back in COVID.
Yeah.
It all started back in COVID when they were censoring doctors about COVID, and they were censoring the former president, now going to be the current president, Donald Trump. And all of these people, they were censoring them and kicking them off, being like, and they're blocking these people. And they're like, these guys are doctors in their field that know viruses, and you're blocking what they have to say because it's not what
media wants you to know.
It's not what the media or the government wants you to know, and you're blocking these people. So he ended up buying it strictly because of that reason. Because he goes, I trust these. I know these doctors personally.
And that's the most baller thing I've ever heard of.
$44 billion? Holy.
It's like, hey, now I get to say whatever I want. Here you go.
I think he saved freedom of speech.
Oh, absolutely. If he hasn't, he extremely helped. Like his level of help on that topic is just beyond.
And I do believe this is my personal opinion, but I do believe podcasts are also fighting what the big medias are doing.
Right, because they want to tell you what they want to tell you.
Media is bought and paid for by certain people and certain corporations, whether it's Fox, CNN, MSNBC, whatever. They all have money that's put in towards it to fight what their agenda is. These podcasts like this, there's no one paying me. There's no one paying the Joe Rogans and the Sean Ryans.
I'm paying you with my...
Actually, I'm paying you to be here with beer, so...
free for me.
So at the end of the day, I do believe that the more podcasts that come out there, the more opportunity and the more real things will become instead of what is portrayed on big media.
See, whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong, this is how I feel. The less censored everything is, the better off we are.
Agreed.
If you, because all those, whatever, ABC, NBC, all them people, that was completely hillbilly of me to say all them people. But, all of those individuals.
I'll help you. Networks.
They rely on censorship.
No, they don't.
Because they only want you to hear what they want to
They
tell
rely
you.
on the money that's giving to the networks.
Well,
that's what they rely on. And when they rely on that, those people that give money to those networks have a say on what they should push or what's not pushed.
So full circle, we are both correct.
Sure. So I believe podcast forums like this, like a Joe Rogan or a Sean Ryan or a Peterson.
What is that? What is that? Michael Kirk? No, what is his name?
Yeah, I know who you're talking.
But him, Ben Shapiro, all these.
I think, but in my opinion, with those guys, they're too far right. They don't believe anything that the left has to say. They don't. It's 100% Republican. 100% Republican. I don't know a single soul out there that's 100% Republican.
That's fair.
So I think we need more people that are like myself, who I tend to vote more Republican, but I understand what the left is saying and what their concerns are. I understand that.
Yeah, and you and I are on the same page as far as that goes. But if we're on the same page completely, you understand where it's not necessarily. Excuse me. It's not necessarily about who's right or who's wrong. It's about the greater good, to be honest.
I agree with that.
It is, like I said, greater good, but it's policies. It's, okay, so you've proven to me that, I enjoy your policy on this, but you have done nothing about it. You have the same exact policy, but you have proven that you will do something about it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things.
And I believe that the right is too far right, and I believe the left is too far left. That's what I believe. And there's a lot of people like me out there that I understand where both sides are coming from.
That's honestly why I'm surprised why Kennedy didn't get more votes.
I'm honestly surprised that he went Republican. I mean, I get why he went Republican.
His family is
they're more
historically Democratic.
But I think that when he got into this race and he seen what was going on, I think he realized that
he knew what was right for the country.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Is Donald Trump a phenomenal man?
Is he the greatest president ever? God, no.
No.
Was he?
But when
the lesser of two evils?
Yes,
also yes.
100%. But when I look at him, I look at his track record. He's got a track record from 2016 to 2020. Now, you can look at that track record however you want. I'm not going to sit here and say because of this, this, and this.
Right. You're wrong. No.
I look at his track record and go, it's pretty good from that point in time.
Right.
Was it perfect? No, it wasn't perfect. But it's pretty good overall. So do I want him as a president or do I want her as a president? And when I vote for somebody who's going to be the president of the United States, I don't vote on who the individual is. I vote on how they're going to lead this country.
And that's exactly, there's been a couple conversations I've had with multiple different people. Do I believe he is the ideal fit? No. Do I believe that she was the ideal fit? No. But who would take care of, like,
who's going to take care of the U.S. of A.
You have
and
to be
her citizens?
You have to be selfless. You cannot be selfish. Like, you have to understand, okay, so who is going to treat everybody in the best form that they can?
I don't look at it that way either.
See, that's one of the ways.
That's one way to look at it, and I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I don't look at it that way. I look at who was the best fit to be the face and the leader of this country. I don't care about each individual person. You know, who's going to stand up for the Constitution, who's going to stand up for the United States of America and the citizens that are here,
and who is going to keep our people safe or safer.
Those are the reasons why I voted the way I voted in this last election. It just was.
And like, yes, I'm obviously not as well spoken as you are.
You don't have to be. You don't have to keep up with me. You can say
you and I are both on the same exact page. Like, the way I determined who I was voting for this election was what made the most sense to me and who was going to keep us from basically tyranny. Whether that be, just like the oath, just whether that be foreign or domestic, it does not matter. Who is going to protect us as a nation better? Like, obviously, one has proven that they can end conflict with the snap of a finger. The other one has proven that... how do I...
You should have thought that through before you said that.
I should have thought that through, and I hope this doesn't get edited out. Like,
it's not. It's all going to be here, man.
But who has proven that they could start something without even trying, and not for the greater good either?
Like I said, when I think about all this, I think about the leader, the face of our country, who can keep us safe, who can get things done.
Who has proven themselves.
They don't have to be a perfect individual. I've never met a perfect individual. God knows I never will.
Oh, I tell my girlfriend all the time.
So I look in the mirror, no.
What, the broken one?
Yeah, duh.
No, I tell my girlfriend all the time, I am not perfect. I will never be perfect. I am far from perfect.
We all have our flaws.
If you think you are perfect, you are wrong. Mm-hmm. It's just how it is.
It is. Agreed. 100% agreed with that, because we all have our flaws. At the end of the day, though, it's like I said, this is the highest position
that our country offers.
That our country offers. And when I'm looking at it, I'm looking at those specific things. I'm not looking at individual things. I'm not looking at what each person did or didn't do. I'm not looking at color, race, gender, any of that. I'm not looking at any of that. I'm looking at those specific things that I had talked about.
Yeah, because
that's what makes me determine which way I need to vote and why.
Because
I'll be honest, before I really was a fan of RFK. I really was a fan of him.
Like him, and if Uncle Donnie wasn't involved,
like how you call him Uncle Donnie.
If Uncle Donnie wasn't involved, like, you know who I never really got into her until the bitter end when things went down south for her. But Nikki Haley was actually a relatively decent option. I don't want to say she was perfect by any means, but certain things, it's like, because obviously you and I are like, we both.
Who's Nikki Haley?
What was her actual?
Is that the comedian? No,
she was because DeSantis was Florida.
She's like North Dakota or Wyoming or something like that, right?
It was up there. I've almost completely forgotten about her, to be honest, because like she
doesn't matter.
She was out. She was done. I gave up. You know how you kind of just remove things from thought.
Oh yeah, happens all the time.
Like that's who I was. Like her and DeSantis and all that, but DeSantis kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
He rubs me the wrong way too.
Certain things, it's just like, okay, you're pushing extremely far right.
That's why I liked RFK. I really did.
He was a moderator.
I'd love to meet that guy and shake his hand and tell him I think he's doing good things for this country, because I think he's one of those that could, and he's going to, because now he's been appointed under Trump to be the health guy. So Hopefully he can help this country out in a different way than what he was hoping for. But I really like him. I really think he's a down to earth guy. I really think he's got his shit together.
But it really does show you, like, that there's a lot of people that are not going to agree with this, but that America made the right choice when a predominantly Democratic household, obviously, what was JFK to him? His grandpa or his uncle or?
Yeah, I think it's grandpa.
Regardless, whatever it may be, I've never looked into it. Like, when you have a predominantly
Cousin,
Democratic family or a household, and he is endorsing a Republican versus another Democrat, you know something is not right.
Well, here's the difference, right? Is our opinions don't really matter because
absolutely
it all goes. We each have an individual vote. We each voted for who we thought needed to be the commander in chief.
Right.
Apparently, 75 million other Americans agreed with us.
Right.
And 70 million Americans didn't agree with us. This is a land that the majority wins when it comes to government. And the majority won.
Yeah, the will of the many outweigh the will of the few. It's just that's how democracy works.
Thank God for democracy. I mean, we do live, even though we're in a tough time, we're in a very interesting period in the United States of America. I mean, we're fairly young as a country, so we're in a very unique and interesting place.
Well,
but
exactly.
I've never lived anywhere else, but I can tell you right now, I don't want to.
But 100%. But no, to carry on with what you just said. Okay, so we've been around since 1776. There are countries like that were around longer than us that are already gone, like Mesopotamia, and obviously Egypt is still around. They've been around
5,000 years.
So many years.
5,000 years.
And it's crazy. Like when you I don't know, I can't remember what it's called, but the cradle of civilization, like Africa and like the entire continent of Africa is just, they've been like their countries and their civilizations have been established thousands of years before we have.
Before us.
Exactly.
I'm talking before the United States of America. Now, obviously, there was civilizations and stuff that were here on this ground before the United States was established. But as far as the United States of America goes,
right,
we're only 250 years old.
It's really crazy to think, to be honest.
When you think 250 years, you think, God, that's a long time. But if you look at the realm of things where they say the universe is 13.5 billion years old, we're not even a friggin' scratch on the wall.
Yeah. So say you have a ruler, like a 12-inch ruler for all of mankind.
Yeah.
We are still on the butt of like the very end of the ruler.
You're right. Yeah, I think the calendar works pretty good too. We are December 31st with 23 hours and 59 seconds. That's when humanity was made.
Right.
That's how long we've been on planet Earth. It's like, that ain't very long at all. So we're going to make mistakes. Things aren't going to be always peachy and sunshines and, pina coladas.
We got any?
Probably not, but you never know. Go look in the liquor cabinet.
This household.
What are you saying, Noah?
Nothing. No, it is really it's crazy to think that people legitimately will kill over basically what we're talking about right now. It's like, I understand you and I side on a lot of the same things. I understand that. But there are people that would rather choose violence about like conflicting interests than just, talking about it. There's a certain person here recently where he was like, yeah, I don't believe Trump would be a good president. And I believed he would. And does it make me think of him any different? No, I might think he's a little dumb, but but no, absolutely not. Like there's nothing about ethnicity, religion,
at the end of the day,
political views.
We had two options. At the very end of the day,
And
we had two options.
And unfortunately, they both suck. In my personal opinion, like one is obviously better than the other, but it's not perfect.
And that's your opinion that one's better than the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bingo.
And that's why you have to vote the way you need to vote. I voted the way I needed to vote. Joe Blow down the street is going to vote the way they think they should vote.
Yeah,
it all comes down to
G-Dub down the road.
it's all an individual basis. You need to vote for who you think is right. I'm not gonna look down on you or look up at you one way or the other.
Like
you had to choose the decision that was best for you.
The Constitution, like in the easiest terms possible, the Constitution upholds opinions.
Wow. I got to take that one in for a second. Yes and no.
Obviously within reason, but
Yeah.
I'm saying like there's people
No. You're right, because I'm thinking like
your freedom of speech,
the freedom of speech, but you can't say fire in a crowded theater.
and you can't say bomb in an airport.
So yeah, you're right. I mean, it's
Like some people
based on
believe-
opinion, but it's also got to be a safe factor involved in that as well.
Right.
So yeah, I get it. I get it.
Like our opinion of safe might be different than somebody up the road's opinion of safe.
Yeah.
It is.
That's a good point. It's a good point to bring up.
It is crazy to think that like back to what I was saying. There's people that are killing each other over these stupid little things. Well, to them they're not stupid, or to me they're not stupid. But there are people doing that type of stuff over their opinion.
Yep.
Like with the religion of Islam, like in the Quran, like taking another person's life and all this other stuff to them.
You do know the number one human the reason of the number one human death in history is, right? And
I
it's
probably do, but
it's religious wars.
oh right,
Yeah. It's not the Black Plague. It's not viruses. It's not cancer. It's religious wars since the beginning of time.
Right.
Are the number one
and
killer
I'm
of men.
like I don't want to say I'm the most religious person in the world, and I'm not saying like regardless. You might be religious, you might not be, but in my personal opinion, I'm one of those guys where I don't have to go to church and to believe in faith. It's just how it is to me. But there are people that they're called religious beliefs for a reason.
They are.
It really is.
And I don't care. Yeah, and to me, that doesn't bother me a bit. If your religion is different than mine, so what?
Oh, okay. Yeah, go on your merry way.
Pray to what you need to pray to. I'm going to pray to what I need to pray to, and we're going to both move on with life.
Yeah, I'm going to pray to
I'm still going to respect you. As long as you respect me, I'm going to respect you. I don't care. I don't care if your God is different than mine. We're still, at the end of the day, you're still praying to a higher power. Whatever higher power that is, whatever you believe it is.
Yeah, my higher power just happens to be Samuel Colt.
Mine's Captain Morgan. No.
Not Lady Bly.
But yeah, I totally agree
No,
with you.
it's a crazy thing that people are legitimately willing to take another person's life over their beliefs. Like
I've never been in that position though. To be honest, I've never had a belief so strong that I was willing to kill somebody else for it. And maybe
I believe that the Second Amendment should be upheld. Like that's something that I believe in. Where if the government tried to be tyrannical, shit happens.
But you've never been in that situation.
I have not.
And neither have I. That's what I was getting at. I've never believed in something so much that I was. How do I say this?
I don't
want to say
obsession would be a word.
No, it's like the opportunity, right? If you have an opportunity to do something, but I don't.
Right, I have an opportunity to go rob the bank, but I don't do it.
Exactly. That's that kind of thing, right? Like, I hope I never get into that position to have to do that, where I feel something so strongly about that I have to protect myself, my family, my property, to have to take someone's life. I hope I'm never in that position.
Right.
But if that time ever does come, I can't say what I will or won't do. I can't, and I don't want to. I don't want to be in that position.
Right, and everybody, like from the day you are born, I don't care what your walk of life is, you are entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
In the United States of America.
In the United States of America. Other countries.
Got to be careful because in the United States of America, absolutely.
Yeah.
In other countries, not so much.
Yeah, communism and slavery are still a thing.
Unfortunately. This is a good place to end this, I think.
Yeah, this was actually really good.
This is a good place to end this.
Because
I've got some editing to do.
Yeah. We'll leave.
It's going to be a longer one than normal, but that's all right.
We'll leave the cliffhanger. Like we can come back to this. I'll have to rewatch the episode.
Darn, you'll have to give me another view. No.
No. Once again, I appreciate you having me. And
thanks for coming. Yeah, thanks for doing this. I know we tried a couple, 2, 3, 4 weeks ago or whatever it was, but shit happens, and so here we are.
Yeah, absolutely. No, as always,
we did awesome. Well, I think, and
yeah, like we went on a couple tangents, and it was kind of nice to just talk about a bunch of different things, you know.
I do my personal opinion is I like these podcasts when we do it this way. I like these episodes because we talk about 3, 4, 5 different topics, and we spend 15, 20 minutes on each topic and give our opinions on it, whether they're right, wrong, or otherwise.
Right.
We give our opinions on it.
Right. You can say I'm dead ass wrong. You can say we're right. You can say whatever you want.
And I like to hear feedback from people that are out there that are listening to these things, whether we're completely off basis or if, hey, maybe we're onto something.
Right. And like, unlike some people, I am more than willing to hear like factual information about what I said. Like, sure.
Yeah, shit, if I'm wrong, call me out on it.
Yeah, call me
out. So I can figure out what I said wrong or what I did wrong, and we can move forward from there.
Call me out, inform me.
Absolutely.
Like what did we say? As long as you learn something, not a day's wasted.
That's right. Noah, it's always good to see you.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure hanging out with K-Dubs.
Until next time. Adios. Bye, everybody.